So basically, all I wanted to look at for this lesson is how to practice, and then
Hmm.
maybe some more ledge stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, because
Um.
I don't know really what to because after wave dash,
Mhm.
like it really dawned on me that my punish game is the worst part about my gameplay now.
Yeah, I agree.
So I really need to just get better at punish, and like I think my idea of how to improve it is like to do practicey things like get more character control, do more movement with platforms, do more just like grounded movement and stuff like that, and then
Yeah.
the punish game will come with it as long as I just play more.
Hmm. I think that's a part of it for sure. I do think you have to practice the specific like sequences though. Like
Okay.
that's also a part of it because the way that I see it is that having good character control generally is for the parts in between where it's like, oh, you hit this fair and you have to, and because all the way you hit people isn't always the same, and the way you have to end up hitting them isn't the same, right? And so like
Mm-hmm.
having good character control is so you can effectively traverse the area between your first hit and your second hit and be able to like aim correctly. But like practicing the sequences is for the sake of like knowing precisely what you need to do and like when, right? Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that does kind of.
What?
So then my next
Mhm.
question would just be, how should I practice punish then?
Um,
Because I really don't know how besides hit the bot.
there's a few ways. Hitting the bot, and so the first thing, hitting the bot is definitely a thing you could do. I think it's a bit inefficient, but generally the idea associated with hitting the bot is you use your best combo starters, right? And then you hit the bot and pay attention to the various DIs and like think how would I hit that and then attempt to hit it, right? Things that you could do to like ease in that process up is when hitting the bot, you see them do a thing and you're like, I don't know exactly how I want to hit the thing. And so you know how 20xx and Uncle Punch exists, right? And you could like make the CP. We could talk about using that actually. That's a big thing.
Yeah,
We
I,
could
I
go
like
through.
kind of know how to use the practice tool, but I don't. I've only used it to practice getting jabbed on shield and doing ASDI down to
And
do
like,
a shield grab.
yeah.
So I don't really know how like other things to set up
Mm.
or like how to
How to do
effectively use
it?
this. Yeah, like the save slots. Like I can only use save slot one. I don't know how to get to the other ones.
Yeah, we could definitely talk about that. But with 20xx or Uncle Punch or whatever, using like replays to make the CPU DI in a specific way, right? So something you could do is make them go through a combo sequence, and then maybe it's an up tilt, and they DI the up tilt with a weird slight DI that you didn't really know, and then you set it up to do that DI, and then you practice hitting the next part of the combo off the DI, right, or something like that. So that's a way that you could do combo stuff just off hitting the bot alone. I think what makes it inefficient is that you could go through that exact same process, but by actually watching yourself play. So you have like a clear idea. Yeah, you skip steps essentially when you do that, where it's like you skip the steps of having to experience the thing. It's just like you watch yourself and be like, oh, I missed this combo, right? And then you think, do I know the exact sequence I want to do out of this combo every time? And if it's yes, then it's like, okay, well then you just go and practice it, right? But then if it's
Okay.
no, it's like, okay, I don't know what I need to do. Obviously, I need to think it through, and that's when you do the 20 or the Uncle Punch DI step or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that those are my thoughts on practicing punish.
Yeah, your ideas are a lot better than mine, I think, because I have like those like the old person idea where it's like, oh, melee is just jazz, you freestyle it all the time. It sounds like
Mhm.
this shit's just Street Fighter.
No, melee is very far from jazz. I
Yeah,
think melee is just like you do the thing. There are answers to everything, and you simply just do the thing. And
yeah.
sometimes it's a mix up, and there's 7 things you could do, and you have to pick between the 7 things, weighing risk reward, which is the best one, which one do you think is most likely to hit, etc., etc. But there's always a thing to do. It's never like I'm gonna do something random and it'll work itself out. It's like no, you have a plan, right? There's always a solution.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think approaching melee through that way is definitely better than like the freestyle because I think melee is very not freestyle.
Yeah.
It's kind of why you see Mango kind of like do things and then just lose randomly because it's like he kind of when he decides I'm a freestyle, he does something random and it's not the best, and the player's like, wow, that was kind of bad, and then they hit him and kill him. Right? That's why Armada started fucking demolishing him from like 2017 or 2016 to like 2018 or whatever. It's just like, yeah.
Okay. Do you think we can go through like Uncle Punch and set some settings?
Yeah, let's do that
for me?
right now. I'm gonna load up Uncle Punch, and stream it and talk about like each different option. Not option, I guess option technically, yeah. And then just
Yeah,
go
like
through it.
how it's helpful and what to know. I'm gonna open mine up real fast so I can set it also.
Okay. Let me know when you're all ready. I started streaming it so you could see it.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, cool. Obviously, you know all the different training things.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, they could be valuable. Honestly, I don't really feel that way. It all depends. I think of the ones that are valuable, the most valuable one is probably just combo training. Just because if you go into combo training, what the heck? Let's just do that. We can like change the DI slightly in like stuff like this, so it could be useful. I think it might be best for like tech chasing and stuff because you know it's really easy to set a specific DI and then set a specific tech option and be like, I want to try hitting that thing. But for combos, I think it's kind of unless you already know exactly what you want to do and the thing that you're doing is a true combo every single time. I don't think it's that good because it doesn't let you be specific. Which is where training mode or training lab comes in. And what makes training lab really good is that you can obviously set up. You have a wider variety of things that you could set up. So let's go into general first here, and I'll just walk through all the like different things.
Yeah, or like stuff that you think is like really helpful.
Yeah.
Should for training purpose.
I will do that. Okay. Obviously, frame advance very useful when you like once you start getting into replay stuff and like you know testing things that you think might work or might not work. Frame advance is really good because it lets you be precise without having to be precise yourself. And you could like change like frame values very tightly just to like see how possible something is, which I really like. Obviously, player percent super useful because sometimes you want to practice like a defensive thing. Like I want to practice, you know, sliding off a move or something, and maybe you need to be at a specific percent for that, right? Other than that, I think it's pretty most of these things aren't the most useful unless you get really specific. Input display could be useful when you're doing replays because you want to see like if you're doing a replay thing that you're practicing and you have input display on, when you set the replay, you could like record yourself, right? And when you like set the replay to playback for it to like play or whatever, you could see what inputs you did and you could kind of tell how you messed up, right? So you could see what makes like why are you messing it up or whatever, or like you could notice like quirks in your execution, right? That maybe you should change, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like following your inputs a little bit. It's like, why don't I do this or consistently? Oh, it's because I have this angle instead of this angle.
Yeah, it's like maybe I'm fundamentally off on how I execute it. It's like something with ledge dashing, especially. I really like it with ledge stuff because it lets you like you can like really troubleshoot your entire like ledge game and like understand exactly what you do off the ledge, like how you execute it, what could be good or bad about that thing, etc., etc.
Yeah.
CPU options is when we get to all the really juicy stuff. Percent, you know how percent works. You want to set up specific situations. These different options are pretty useful too because it lets you like set up specific positions without having to use replays. So like shield is good because for obvious reasons, you set up a spacing shield, right? You could do something like this. Practice spacing around various things. Crouch is good because you could set up the CPU to do a specific action out of crouch. So like, for example, you know, if you go down to the bottom here, we see counter action, right?
Yes.
And these different things are like what the CPU does when they're actionable in these different positions. And so it's like when the CPU is actionable after getting hit, like out of lag on the ground, he'll do spot dodge, right? And so what we could do is we could change it to shield, and we see like when we hit him, wait, what the heck? Why do you spot dodge? That is weird. That played out that way. Regardless, I am confused by that. But
maybe it's because he's holding the down input already.
Yeah, so it's just like buffering spot dodge because we see with grab it doesn't do that. So yeah, you see like you can set up grab or something, or like with a character like Marth, setting up B might be good because you know how sometimes Marths do CC B, right? So like you can control all these different things, and like, you know, it is a thing that you can use to like practice through. Same thing for air. You hit them in the air. What are they gonna do when they're actionable? Jump away, jump towards, up B, you know, air dodge. All these different things are valuable. You can also set to none, which is cool too. Same thing for shield. And then counter after frames is like how long it takes them to do the thing. So if I set to like 15 frames after they're like, so the way it'll go is if it's set to 15 frames, and 15 frames after they're actionable from whatever counter spot they're in, then they'll do the thing. Right? Yeah, so this is like, you could change how they time their thing so you could judge, you know, how possible something is, right? Or you can see the latency on something. And then these are just pretty much the same thing where it's like how many hits, not the same thing, but it's pretty obvious where it's like how many times do they have to be hit to do the counter option. And so it's like set to 2, doesn't do anything. But I set there and he does it right then, right? So 2 hits. Or then after shield hits, I set to 2, and so it's like I set him to shield, jab, jab, and he should have done the thing. I have it set to none. Funny. And you see he jabs after the second, or he grabs after the second jab. Right. So that's like, these are all the different options that could be valuable. And now this is where this is like the main thing that makes it really good, is the replay system. So clicking save positions is like the first step. It sets it up. This is like, the save positions thing is like, that's the baseline really. So you also use right on the D-pad to set a save state at around the same time as save position. So it like, because what you'll generally be doing is you'll do the thing and then press left on the D-pad, right? And if you base it off the right, the right D-pad save state, then it'll, what's it called? It'll be most accurate. And then to explain the replay stuff, once you've set like a save state, you set to replay, you load the, I forgot. So when you use the CPU and you set to record, you're now recording the CPU's inputs, right? And so I could, you know, go through, I load the save state with left on the D-pad, and then let's say I want to do, you know, drill wave shine or whatever. And then when I set to playback and I use left on the C stick, it'll do, you know, that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now that I'm playing, I could practice, you know, whatever thing involving, right? It's, you know, not all that important. But then the way that you could have it with multiple slots is that by changing it to slot 2, this means that there is now a new track of inputs that are going to be read, right? And so now when you go back to the record thing, you go back through the entire process of doing an action, right? And so now in slot 2, I have the Fox to dash dance running shine, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Is there a way to do multiple playbacks at once so you can like so like you have slot 1 and slot 2 saved, right?
Yeah.
Could you have it play slot 1 and then slot 2 so you can practice doing 2 things like, or like dash dance mix up situations?
Yeah, you could have it set to, when you set to random. Yeah, and so now you see him and he'll drill eventually. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so when you set to random, then you could have like a set of things that you want to react to that you like can go through. The way that I generally approach it, and I think this is probably the best way to approach it, is that I do not do mix-ups in the different slots. When I do different things in the slots, it's generally in positions where everything is reactable and you just need to do a good job judging which thing it is that you need to react to.
Okay.
And why I do that is with mix-ups, the way that I define mix-ups personally is they're unreactable positions where someone is getting hit regardless. That is kind of what it is, right? And to me. And so then with a mix-up, if it's unreactable, doesn't that kind of just mean that you're inherently rolling the dice, right?
Yeah.
And what purpose is there to practice a thing where you're rolling the dice, right?
Yeah, that's true. If they do the mix-up in the same spot, you're gonna have to take the 50-50 anyways. So might as well just
Yeah,
react or like know the answer to an option.
yeah. I think practicing individual mix-up, like an individual aspect of a mix-up, is a good thing to do. But practicing like an entire mix-up is not good, just because it
Yeah.
doesn't do anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's like,
you'll have to get both parts of it either way because that's what a 50-50 is.
yeah. So as long as you practice them individually, then I think it makes a lot more sense to use replays, right? But that isn't the same thing as using the random with multiple slots, right?
Yeah. I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I think using this to practice mix-ups is great because it's like you want to be able to hit the exact thing that you practiced well.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to like an overarching mix-up, there are many pieces that are unreactable that you can't like do anything about other than just know how to play the situation that you want to play out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's like most of the stuff for Uncle Punch, really. Like, these are all the details, and at this point, it's just a matter of like putting the pieces together and like trying to like figure out how to use it effectively.
Okay.
Right?
Well, can I ask you a really general question?
Yeah, sure.
What do you think I should be practicing? Like, I think obviously, like, I have the basic movements down. You know, like I can get around stage. I pilot Marth pretty okayly. Like, I give myself like a C minus.
Yeah.
Which I think that's better than most people.
I
Most
think it
people are-
is.
Like
Well,
most people are either at like an F or a D under.
yeah, I agree.
So
But
I'm
why
like-
not be a B or an A?
Yeah, but I'm saying I don't know how to get to the B or A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that I approach this is one way that you could do it is by watching yourself play, seeing things happen, and thinking, what can I do about that thing? Right? And so then you have a clear basis and you have a clear thing that you want to achieve. And then if you could set it up in Uncle Punch or whatever and be like, what is the way that I could... So, for example, we could say, like, to set up a situation right, like, spontaneously, is I will set the fox to stand on the platform right there. I will set Marth to be standing probably around right here. And then I will, press right on the D-pad to start a recording. Or to save a state, sorry. And then set this to record to start a recording. Press left on the D-pad to, like, reset the state. Also, I want to do this really quickly. Turn that off. And then press left on the D-pad to load the state. So we're at the beginning of, of the time frame line. And then what if I want to practice hitting a fox that does short hop nair off platform? Right. What I'll do, make the fox, short hop nair off the platform and shine. And then press left on the D-pad to load it. Now, there's one thing that I want you to see that is important, is that there are there's two separate cues for right on the D-pad save states and save position. So if we do reset positions, you see how Fox moves up there, right?
Yes.
And then he does all that. But if you use left on the D-pad, it actually is what you're working with.
Okay.
Yeah. So I generally use the right on the D-pad save state and left on the D-pad load state to like do these things so that you don't have to worry about whatever happens with, your save position thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
A lot.
Now going back to the example, spontaneously I thought of, I want to practice hitting Fox, short hop, nairing off the platform, and shining with this specific spacing, right? Right. So I'm like right here, and it's like, okay, well, I would just simply see him jump off and start dashing forward and then grab him, right? Or maybe it's something that I can't do just out of dash down spontaneously or whatever, right? You have to think about these things as they kind of come up from the position you're in. And it's like, okay, well, if I'm, positioned here, what are the other things I could do that might be, safer / riskier depending on the situation? Because maybe you could do this and, fucking crouch right there. Like, that is a thing you could do. Or maybe you want to do something safer and jump here and then play more reactive and also be, safer, right? Because, if you're dash dance grabbing, Fox doesn't have to nair. He could, double jump, right? And so, maybe that's something you want to worry about. But the general thing is, you just want to like think of it through the lens of I see this thing happen in the game, and I don't know how to like deal with it holistically.
Okay.
Does that yeah.
Yeah, it frames like how I should be tackling problems like correctly. 'Cause before I didn't really think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, I don't know how I thought about teaching myself problems before you explained that. So that does help a lot.
Yeah, I think another way you could do it is simply what this is like what I did this when I got like when I was already like pretty good, like I was already top 100 level or whatever. But one thing that I did is that I watched various top players play and I saw them do things that I wouldn't do, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I'm gonna do that. Whether it was like a combo sequence or neutral sequence or just like a movement sequence, right? And I would see one of those things and be like, that's really interesting, and I would set it up. So like something that, you know, I'm gonna turn this off so I can focus. One thing that like, you know, Zane does that could be worth practicing is it's like, oh, Zane always like does really far dash dances and like does like a pivot grab at like the absolute edge. So maybe doing something like that is something you'd want to practice, right? It's like, I just saw this thing. Or maybe seeing Zane do like dash dance, dash forward, drift back, auto cancel nair is something that you want to see, right? Or maybe it's a sequence where he does like, you know, dash forward, short hop, but not fast fall, and then act as fast as possible out of the landing, right? Like all these different, every single aspect of these things is like relevant and something that you want to practice, right? So you could really just watch a top player play and pick random bits and pieces that you see them do and be like, oh, this is something interesting that I want to practice, and you could do it if you don't understand it, right?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
How to pick apart to put it in.
Yeah. That is generally my approach. Both the two things I said, those are generally my approach, and I think they're pretty efficient because you know yourself best, and you can pick things that will benefit you a lot, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's pretty good for practice. Unfortunately, I have no VODs right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a couple VODs, but I don't know if we want to watch. Well, maybe we should watch them.
I think.
Or I don't know if. Do you think it would be more helpful if we looked at like? Actually, no. I shouldn't ask you that question. I'm the person who should be.
I think it's very useful to have someone like go through the process with you, right? Because it could give you an idea of what is like, you know, what are the things I want to pay attention to. Or
I get that, but I'm thinking in my head right now if it would be more beneficial to look at my own stuff, or maybe we look at like a top player like Zane and then do stuff like that. Because there's still a lot of things that like I don't have an idea of what I want to be doing in the game. So maybe we should be looking at somebody who has an idea of what they like what Marth should be doing, and then because right now I don't really have any like stepping stones forward on what I want to practice.
Well, I think if that's the case, can't we watch you and then pick things that you're doing poorly? I think it doesn't matter how recent the VOD is. I don't think players change that much, right? In like short amounts of time. It's like we could watch you playing bad against a random player or whatever. Like at the end of the day, whether you're playing well or you're playing poorly or whatever, it's still kind of a reflection of your understanding of the game, right? And I think a lot of the time playing poorly just means that the situations that you do not understand fully or perfectly are coming up more often and you're interacting with them poorly. Sometimes you do just like, you know, you can't look at the screen as good as you did the other day. Like sometimes that does happen, but I also think a lot of the time your weaknesses really show when you're playing poorly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me find a Fox game.
Yeah. And we could frame it through the lens of finding things for you to practice more so than doing like, well, it could be a mixture of both. I think it'll be valuable to like talk about general concepts in the matchup because it's always good to know things that like know your character's advantages, etc., etc. But
yeah. Okay. How did I send you this file last time?
You just drag it from the file to Discord. Yeah, just DM on Discord.
Yeah, one list. Here you go.
Oh.
Send. Do you know if there's an update to Dolphin? Because my shit, every time I launch NetPlay, it always tells me my stuff is bad.
What do you mean your stuff is bad?
It says there's a problem with my computer.
Uh.
And then it desyncs.
I don't think there's been an update to Dolphin, but I do think you could like.
There's probably something in settings.
Yeah.
It's alright.
You can also just reinstall and pray.
Oh, dude, that's genius, actually.
Yeah, reinstalling and praying is actually such a big, just secret strategy.
Yeah.
Okay, let me know when you can see.
Yeah, I'm all good.
Okay. Instant thought. I think runoff fairing here is one of the most obvious things you could do.
Yeah, I've been trying to not do that more. I'm just trying to drop through platform on neutral start just so I can get grounded faster.
Yep, I agree. Dropping through and fast falling is really good. I do think you can run off the platform here, but if you are going to like decide to fair or run off, you should fast fall as fast as possible. This is a thing that you should practice. Doing run off fast fall as fast as possible on game start, right? Like this is a great example of a thing. Because I think run off fast falling without like aerialing isn't a bad decision. I don't think run off fairing is necessarily a bad decision either. But I don't think it's that great. But if you are like able to do that, like if you can execute this thing, it will be very good. And you landing on the ground, not in much lag next to Fox, isn't actually that bad of a position next to you or for you, right?
Yeah.
And so you might be able to actually play out a situation instead of just like, you know, instantly being at threat of getting hit, right? Because right now, this is a bad position for you. Just Fox is not getting hit by you doing a fair and he's fully actionable. If the Fox was good, he would have been dashing back. Like he would have empty landed, been dashing back now, and then already been dashing towards you, right? And then you would be getting hit. But regardless, yeah, this is immediately a thing to practice. And I think I kind of want you to like have this level of like focus when you look at it. I want you to like actually go into the details and be like, was this a decision that made sense? If it's bad, what are things I could do to make it better, right? And think through it holistically. Because I think your idea for dropping through is good, but I also want you to understand different things you could do in that position. Other than like, I don't want you to be like, I found a new thing to do. This is it. I want you to figure out everything to do. Yeah, because it's important. It's really important. Anyways, let's continue. I think this down tilt's pretty bad as well. Once you do like, the way that I see it is this fair was like a blunder, right?
Yeah.
And once you like, you know, make a mistake that puts you at like frame disadvantage compared to your opponent, then you kind of have to change the way you play into like being safe from your opponent's like, you know, reasonable decisions they'd make, right?
Yeah.
And so the way that I see this is once you blunder this fair, you're in lag while Fox is actionable. And so I'm like, okay, I could be getting hit. I'm not sure exactly what's happening because, you know, you can't react to anything that's with this like specific position. With you landing and making the decision to down tilt, you couldn't have really judged like everything. I think I feel like you could not have judged everything that happened enough to like make the perfect decision. And so I feel like you should generally be aware because you don't know if the Fox is gonna dash back right now and whiff punish you, if he's gonna play like a mix up on the second thing you do, which he did, or if he's gonna keep dash dancing. Like you can't tell, right? So given that, you have to function with the information you have, and it's like if you're disadvantaged frame wise, you just have to like play it as if that's the case and be defensive. And so like, for example, what I feel like is a good thing to do here is after this fair, you dash back, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You dash back, you get out of the way, and then if you're dashing back and he does this drill, you actually get a grab, right? So
that's something that I have noticed after our last lesson where you're telling me like a lot of the times when I down tilt, um, I'm just not. I'm covering nothing. Like it's kind of like I just panic do it.
Yeah,
So I've been trying to do things like or like fastball fair or fastball nair into just dash back,
yeah.
or trying to be like as actionable as possible. And like after I hit the L cancel.
Hmm. I
So yeah,
think
I think that's definitely something that I need to. I don't know how to remind myself mid game. I just autopilot way too hard. But I think that's just if I practice it more, it'll get more ingrained into my muscle memory.
yeah. I also think we kind of covered this in the last lesson with like the stuff we talked about screen looking, right? But I think that the idea of screen looking is so you can perceive what's happening on the screen and make a reasonable decision, right?
Yes.
That's the goal. And given that, I feel like if that is the goal for screen looking specifically in these reaction points that we talked about, why not do that for the entire game, right? And so I feel like every decision you make, I think this will also be beneficial for like practicing and improving, but I think every decision you make should be pretty deliberate. I think you should do a thing and have a clear idea of what you want to hit with it and what it does and how they like would interact with it, et cetera, right?
Mhm.
I want you to know all of these things when you make each decision because it's like, why are you going to make a decision, right? If you don't know how it works and what will happen if you do it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and if you are able to do that, where each decision is like a thing that you clearly intended to do and were conscious about doing, then it'll make practicing easier just because you'll be like, oh, in this position, I always do this. I'm just going to change what I do. And it'll be easy because you're doing it intentionally. You're not just like kind of looking and realizing that maybe a situation's happening and doing a thing. You're like, I know this situation is happening and I'm going to make this decision. And it's easy to change when you are doing things on purpose.
yeah. Hmm.
So I think that is like that's kind of the answer to changing habits.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not easy. I mean, it took me a long time to develop the skill, but at the end of the day, I mean, I still don't do it perfectly, but it's like this is the goal, and we have to try and achieve that.
Yeah, intentionality is just hard, but
I agree. Being deliberate is not easy. There are a lot of things to look at, and it's easy to like judge poorly or whatever.
mhm.
Um, yeah, you tried to do dash back there, but honestly, I don't really think it was that reasonable because I feel like the way I see it is you were like you tried to smash out of the drill and then dash back, which I think is good, but in this position when Fox is like assuming that he'll get the shine anyways, he'll generally tend to wave dash forwards, and I feel like you have to kind of play the position that ensues with that assumption. And I think that like dashing back like this is really good, but I feel like if you like try and do like pivot nair or something, for example, here, which by the way, is another thing that you could practice because you messed up right now, right? And I feel like you've never explicitly practiced dashing back at a drill into doing long dash back pivot, nair or whatever, right? Or doing like long dash, foxtrot second dash into pivot nair or something. Um, but
Only individually practice pivot there, never putting it all together.
yeah, that's also a big thing of practicing situations. Is melee obviously is a very varied game, and you doing the same decision does not imply that it's the same situation, or like you doing the same type of decision does not imply that the situation's the same. Like you doing, you know, some pivot nairs you pivot really far, like you dash really far back initially. Some pivot nairs you dash back for 2 frames, right? All these different combinations you need to like be good at and have like be practiced in. Or like doing spot dodge grab. You could probably, I'm sure. There's just like so many different like ways. I'm sure you could press the Z button or do like JC grab or whatever and get like a grab every time. But maybe when you do spot dodge grab, you you grab too early every single time and you get light shield or something. Like there's so many different ways that things could exist, and you need to like be aware of all the different variations and like be practiced in them. And it's overwhelming. Melee is hard game, but
So do you think when like say I so if we take like the fastball example from like platform,
yeah.
should I like when after I like get like a pretty good base of it, I should start exploring like all the different avenues that like it leads to me. Where it's like, oh, you could fastball with the aerial, you could fastball dash back, you could fastball dash forward grab, and like just do like those things to make it like easier for me to put it into the game.
Yeah.
Like that's a good way, or that's a good way to go about practicing like more options.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to go about it. There's
Okay.
also the solo practice aspect is you could shadow box all these things, right?
True.
So you could be in, Uncle Punch playing alone and be like, oh, I want to make sure that I have good execution on doing dash forward off side platform, fast fall, land and then instantly dash forward grab out of it, right? Like that's like a sequence that you could practice. And you could imagine that there's a fox on the screen, and if you know like what the fox needs to do to get hit by it, you can imagine, a character there doing that, and then that'll be like your practice. I guess nowadays shadow boxing's less of a thing because replays exist, so you could always set up a replay with a thing that'll like get hit by it too.
Yeah, make it more fun with the hitting the fox instead of hitting the shadow box.
Yeah, hitting the brain, the brain fox. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. But with this kind of like position, I feel like it is pretty hard. I don't think you have a move that is fast enough to actually like let you be aggressive in this position. So my idea is that once you get this dash back, what I would do is I'd either dash back towards the fox and then do pivot shield, so you're facing him if he decides like to stay in front of you or whatever. And then if he goes past you, you could wave dash in the center stage, which is a good position. Or you know, what's it called? You just dash back as far as you can and then shield with your back turned, right?
Yeah.
Those are like two things that I think you should do that are better than trying to like be aggressive. And they're better because you don't really have the time to be aggressive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I'm on the chase. Or I'm getting chased here, so I need to pick a defensive option so that I don't get hit for doing something
Yeah.
or too aggressive.
Yeah. It's same thing that we talked about in the first lesson where it's like, taking turns. Sometimes it is
Yeah.
just not your turn. And right now, it's not your turn. But sometimes it will be your turn even though you're disadvantageous, right? It's not like an
Skill
overarching
advantage.
statement. Yeah. You just have to like know when your character actually has time to do a thing because there's a lot of times where for example, it's like Marth, I don't know, forward throws a fox and then he does dash forward, or the fox DIs away, techs away, and then the Marth does dash forward, wave dash down, right in front of Fox tech, thinking he'll spot dodge, right, and then the fox just says run up smash, and it's like this is actually like this is not always the Marth's turn. Like you can make a decision fast enough to hit the Marth before he does a thing, or there's a lot of times where it's like, um, Marth. How do I explain? What's another situation where it is. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Where Marth like downers a fox at 0%, and the fox can just hit the Marth, right? Because the fox isn't in enough flag for him to be disadvantageous to be meaningful. So the fox can just like shine or something, and
Yeah.
it is not like a bad decision. Whether it's your turn or not is all just relative to like your how disadvantageous you are frame wise and how fast your like character's options are relative to the other character and stuff. And those are all things that you'll have to like, think about.
Yeah.
Oh, I went all the way back to the beginning. That sucks. Yeah.
It's okay. It was like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got hit for being or trying to do an aggressive option, but that was more like me flubbing. But
Yeah. But I still think you would have been in a pretty bad position if you tried to actually. You probably would have gotten grabbed if you actually tried to do the nair you wanted to do. Okay. I feel like this nair was not really you being that precise about how you judged the the like post platform situation. I feel like you didn't fast fall, which is a big thing. Again, maybe practicing running off top platforms or like, what happened specifically, I think, is you rolled to the edge of the top platform. And maybe this is a thing you need to practice. Rolling on top platform and then dashing off and fast falling as fast as possible, right? That's like it seems random, but it just came up, right? And it's a
yeah,
pretty common position.
I get stuck there a lot too. So
Yeah, right? And so it's like
mm,
you could practice ways to get down And it totally matters because you coming down and you like being in the air when you could have been on the ground actionable matters a lot. Because look at how the advantage plays out. It is like you're nearly frame equal, which is like not good. It's significantly worse than you being frame plus, right?
Yeah. If I fell first, I could have done like an up or not up like up tilt or something.
Yeah, you could have done up tilt. You could have run a center stage, or maybe the nair you would have done would have actually been good because you would have been on the ground so much earlier. You could have caught him out of the air or something, right? Mm-hmm. So that piece of text is really important. It's something you could practice. And then, given what you did, I feel like you had a pretty poor job judging like what the situation would have been. And so now this is the frame you're actionable. And if you look at the Fox, it's like landing, 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 1, 2, 3, 4. He's now actionable. And so it's like looking at it, I feel like your nair didn't really make that much sense because the actionable Fox was, on the ground right in front of you. Instead of like, however many frames into the future where the nair would have been hitting him.
Yeah.
And I mean, given I feel like what you could have done is turn around grab, and you would have just whiff punished that upper, right? Mm-hmm. Or, dash forward grab. I feel like this is just a free grab, pretty much. But you kind of didn't react that well, and you ended up not really getting the hit. And maybe this is a thing that you end up practice too, where it's like setting up a position where the Fox is up airing top platform, and then you get off the platform and playing the situation that occurs afterwards. Like, I'm sure you probably haven't practiced this, and you probably weren't exactly sure of what happens when Fox, like, does rising up air when, and you, like, it lands next to you when you're actionable, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. Did you know?
No. Yeah. Definitely not. I was not thinking about, I was like, I thought, like, roll to dodge this up air, and then I want to get on the ground, and I want to go center stage here.
Yeah. But you just have a free hit.
Yeah, instead I could have been like, get out of this like scrambly situation off top platform, and then I could probably hit him on the way down or see what happens once I land.
Yeah. I agree. Given, I think your dash away after the nair was good. I feel like, yeah. I think dashing away, let me look at this position a bit more. Tell me. No, I actually don't think it was that good. Unless, yeah. I think what you could have done is if you were to dash back, you would be dashing back for like 2 frames so that you could set up like you facing forward. Mm-hmm. And so that you would do like, dash back for a few frames and then pivot shield short hop. And then you could get like a position on the Fox, right? Can you like imagine that where if you were like pivot shield then jumping, you would be able to like fair this Fox doing wave dash forwards, or maybe you could down air him or something. It would give me the mix up instead of letting him run up on me like this. Yeah, I agree. Or honestly, what you could have done is you realize that he wave dashed back and be like, I am just simply going to grab because I'm assuming that you're going to do something that would, intend to hit me staying in the corner. So if you like dash back grabbed at this point, I think your actionable on this frame would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You would literally grab him. Like, I guess we would do 8, 9 because you need dash and JC. And then you'd realize that's like, you would just hit him like literally in the startup of his wave dash. And so it's like, I think dash back grab, this is another position where it's like you actually totally just had the opportunity to hit him, right? Yeah. But you didn't like judge that well. And these are like the spots that you want to like look at and think about what could I have done, and going through with the frames, et cetera, and all that stuff is like you need to like judge this and kind of realize the different frame advantages as they come up. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think this is like really eye-opening because whenever I look at a VOD of myself or something like that, I'm always just like, damn, that was bad. And like what the way you're explaining, where it's like, like it's bad, but like let's break it down and why it's bad. And like, yeah, it's like I like knew that this is like a way, or this is how you're supposed to like solve problems in fighting games, where it's like you look at the very minute situation and you break down everything you can do. But I never do it because I felt like I didn't know how to. Yeah. But you explaining it makes me, it's like totally in my wheelhouse that I can do something like this. I agree. And I feel like at the end of the day, it is more about figuring out what to do instead.
Hmm.
That is really important. I feel like you could see whenever you're like, man, that was bad. You need to sit down and be like, if you don't know what to do instead, you should map it all out and then try and do something better next time, right? With practice or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Man, yeah, I feel like that fair probably was not that great. If it was intention to hit him dashing forward and it still missed, I feel like that kind of says that something went wrong. And instead, I think you see the jab. I feel like you definitely saw him wave dash forward, but didn't really have a plan. And I feel like at this point, since you played the other situation poorly, and you did like the stash back, you like realized that he probably shined or something. Was like, I could hit him, but you obviously don't have the time. And I feel like it's a lot more valuable to be grounded in this spot because Fox doesn't have to like jab. What if he did like wave dash forward running shine, right? You would have just literally gotten hit for doing this jump. And thinking about like these things as they come up is really important because if you don't have a plan for these spots where they're not super clear, you will simply just get ran over. But yeah, if you kept dash chancing here, I feel like you could have just played like a normal advantageous spot, and there's not much to say about it. I'm sure you know what to do there, or what you would know what to do there if something came up. You just kind of dash chance until something happens. On here. This is a pretty bad job reacting. You didn't realize that like you like saw that the fox was like dashing forward, but you didn't know exactly how it would play out, and I feel like you kind of did not do the greatest job reacting. Because I think that after this fair, it was reasonable to dash back, but you should have realized the grab by like now and been like dash back grabbing him, right? Yeah.
Because I think what happened up there is that I did the full hop. I was trying to do a short hop fair to catch it, but the grab just would have been faster, and it would lessen the opportunity for him to like do a reversal on me or something like that.
I agree.
Because he would just be grabbed.
You just get hit. There's no defense against grab if you're in lag, right?
Yeah.
I want to see actually if you could have gotten grab true. One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You could have grabbed.
No.
After downer, just, and that's another thing to practice.
Mm-hmm.
Doing late downer, turn around grab, right? Or late downer grab, right? All the different variations. Because you didn't even have to play this like it was a mix-up. It was just a true hit. Yeah.
Yeah, I could just grabbed him, and then I did the dash back, and then I didn't grab him.
Yep. This is probably another thing to practice, where it's like you're next to the platform. Practice up throwing when you're next to the platform and reacting to their DI and like acting effectively, or not effectively, but whatever, acting correctly. Because this is obviously a regrab, right?
Yeah.
But
I just let him fucking jump away from me.
yeah, you didn't realize it was a regrab because you're expecting him to land on the platform. But you have to just like simply react. That's another thing to practice. I feel like dash or wave dashing forward is not good here. Just because you shielded because you thought you might get hit, and then you realize the what's it called? Double jumped like away. But I feel like instead of wave dashing forward, I definitely would have wave dashed down and then played the like ensuing position.
I see.
Just because since you aren't getting a true punish, right? You're not getting a true punish on anything. It's better to play it, safer / have more options. Because if you wave dash down here, you don't get hit by him like, doing dash forward nair or something. You have like real defenses against it because you're spaced. But now since you're wave dashing forward, if you did any of those decisions, you actually would have ended up getting hit. Does that make sense?
Yeah. everything that you're suggesting always leads to more options. Where everything I do locks me into whatever option I do.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we want to do the thing that lets us be the best we can be,
Hmm.
and giving ourselves like the most options is always what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shield, wave dash down once you realize you could be wave dashing down right now, by the way, because you could have realized that he double jumped away. That's also a thing to practice, is practicing Fox, double jump, or Fox practice reacting to Fox double jump and like seeing if you'll end up in a spot that he could hit you or not. Because I feel like at this, we'll do the thing. I'll pause right when I realize exactly how Fox double jumped. Right, and you see how like this is before you even shielded, right?
Mhm.
So, oh, it was right before. That's funny. But yeah, it's like you could have just continued to stand still at that point. So you didn't even need the wave dash down. What if you just like did dash back, dash attack, right? Dash back, dash for a dash attack, and you just whiff punish this perfectly. Like these are all the things that you could be seeing that, maybe you need to practice looking at. Because, reacting to Fox double jump, reacting to Fox full hop are difficult. They're not easy, but they're things that you could do and are practicable. I think forward throw there is really bad. What makes it bad is like generally when you do forward throw or down throw, it's because there's a platform in the way that would complicate your combo, right?
Yes.
But right now in center stage, if you up through, do you think Fox would land on top platform?
I think in this moment I did, but looking at the percent now, definitely not, because
Yeah.
you can up throw him to like 35 or something like that on
Yeah.
Yoshi's. So I think that's just something I need to pay attention to then as well, knowing the percents.
I agree. Knowing exactly when a thing is going to happen is also very important.
Because doing grabs and throws, that's like super replicatable on like DIs. Like if they do like slight DI or like all the way, so then you can pretty much map out what happens on an up throw sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like you can know. I feel like off any throw at any given point, you could know every single possible outcome. I do not think that's unreasonable.
Yeah.
And yeah. But yeah, up throw's just better in that spot. Um, I feel like a thing that you should also practice is movement out of shield. I feel like with Marth, since he's not the best out of shield, it's really important to be super like good at all the things you can do out of shield. And so like various things like, practicing all the different types of short hops you could do out of shield, like short hop back, short hop forward, short hop in place, change your drifts, or doing like wave dashes, doing every different type of wave dash down, back, forward, different lengths of those things are all very important. Or doing like maybe short hop, double jump, wave line the side platform, wave line in a different direction, get different lengths, right? All of these things. And it seems like I'm just saying these things because it's like, oh, it's just like a thing you could do. It's like, no, it actually matters. Having the precision to very precisely place yourself at any given point on the stage you want to be on is extremely important. And I feel like if you watch Zayn, you see Zayn, he ends up in the exact spot he wants to be at a lot of the time. And you know what
No,
that
yeah,
means?
dude.
He gets to hit people.
I was just thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, dude. Sometimes he just does a little wave dash to get the F smash, or like the little pivots that he does to get the reverse tipper or something like that.
Yeah, it's like
He's so purposeful.
Yeah, he's trying to be. He wants to get put in an exact spot, and he's really good at moving to that exact spot. And that's like a thing that all top players are good at. That's the character control that you want, want to strive for. Yeah, like here, I feel like a big thing that when I'm playing Marth and I end up in these awkward positions where I miss my thing, but I get my shield up and they shine my shield, I'm always extremely prepared for these spots because it's like, why else would I shield? I'm expecting them to shine, right? And so I'm going to play it well. And so, like here, I would time my wave dash super well, and I'd probably be wave dashing right now. And then I would wave dash past them, and I'd be able to actually play neutral instead of like being in this awkward position where I'm actually like still in shield when he's actionable, right? And I mean, spots like these, even this is a thing that's practicable, right? if you know the fox is going to shine, why aren't you acting as fast as possible, right?
Yeah.
That's also another thing to like be aware of. Spots when you can and can't react, etc., etc. We didn't really talk about it that much, but it is a thing in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like empty land here is really good, but you did not have a good plan. And I feel like if I empty land here, well, I guess why did you empty land here before we go into anything?
I saw his nair was coming in at me, and I didn't think fair would hit him on the way in. So I
Well,
wanted
was
to
it the nair that you saw that made you empty land? What was it that made you empty land?
his initial jump, probably. Actually, no, not even. I thought he jumped further back. I think I just jumped for no reason then.
Well, I think the preemptively jumping there's fine,
Yeah.
but I want to know why you decided to empty land, right? Now that you see that, or let's watch it and like see if you can come up with a reason.
Yeah, definitely most likely because I didn't think fair would hit, and I was like, I wanted to hit him coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I saw that it wouldn't work, I was like, okay, well, what's gonna reach out of my range?
Yeah.
And I was like, down tilt, but I could have probably just run up, grabbed him.
I agree, and for what it's worth, I think the empty land was good. I just wanted to make sure. I want to know why you did it and make sure that it was reasonable. I think your reasoning was good.
This was after our lessons. So I was thinking more about like, oh well, like Billy said to do things like short hop and then like fast fall. Sometimes do an aerial so you can look at the person and then do something. So I guess I probably was doing that, and then my answer to the whiff punish was just down tilt.
Yeah. And I think this is another spot. Obviously, it's like I'm grilling it in, but it's like I think when you watch Melee and you see a spot like this where the fox clearly did a thing that was pretty bad because it didn't hit you and you outplayed him, what could you do better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I see this down tilt and I'm like, man, you got hit for outplaying him. That seems pretty bad. And so I would think of like, what's a different thing that I could do? And like you said, I think doing dash up grab or maybe even grab in place would have been the exact thing that would have like beat this.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, you know, that's like a really good baseline to go off of is spots where you like win, but something goes bad. Because you really, it's like, if you win and something goes wrong, you need to know exactly why it went wrong. And if it going wrong is just like natural variance or you did something horribly wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is really, really important. I guess let's finish the stock and then you could do a bit of wrap up. It'll probably end relatively soon.
I hope this could go for like a minute.
Yeah. This is bad. Drifting in and fairing here doesn't really do anything. I think the type of recovery you'd want to do is to wiggle out while you're up here, because you could be wiggling out right now, and then like either like think about drifting the edge or drifting close to edge and then falling past it with like fast fall upbeat and stuff. But I think doing fair here doesn't really do that much. Technically, it does stop the fox from doing like run forward, short hop off shine. Like if he did dash forward, short hop shine, like what's it called? Fair could have hit him. But I also feel like if you thought he was gonna do that, you could double jump here, land on the platform, and he's in a really awkward position, like because he's off the stage shining, right? And if you clip him while on the stage, not only is it safer, but you get the same result, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty good. Or you could fast fall past the shine. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on how the fox wants to read you doing it. But regardless, I think looking at it through that structure, where it's like the two things that you really get to do or really want to do are just drift to edge or fast fall past edge and up B. That's like a good baseline. And then when you realize there are things that could hit those, you want to like, you know, kind of, what's it called? Branch out. And so with the shine, it's like you could jump over it and be on stage. Or it's like if he tries to hit you falling to ledge, you fast falling past and then up being to edge is a good way to beat that. You get to edge safely, everything's fine, right? Mm-hmm. All these different like variables you want to like think about. Or like fox staying on stage and pivot bearing, or not pivot bearing, pivot shielding or something to try and bear you double jumping is good for, or a good way to beat that is just falling the edge, right? Mm-hmm. There's, you know, you want to think of the dichotomy of the mix-up inherently. It's really important.
Yeah.
Nice. I think that was good ledge play until you forward smashed.
Yeah, just fucking let it rip.
Yeah, I feel like you should just simply use a move that isn't forward smash.
Mhm.
Like run up grabbing here would be good. A lot of the time when you're in frame neutral with Fox, a good thing as Marth to do is if you think he's going to be aggressive or stand still in any like regard, you could just dash forward grab, and that's like a big way to beat foxes is simply by outspeeding them. In these spots specifically when you're frame neutral, a lot of the time foxes are going to take a little bit longer to set up a thing. They're not going to try and hit you like immediately because either they need to close space or they have to set up a specific type of movement pattern to hit the thing. And doing dash forward grab is a good way to like stop them in these spots when they want to like either set up or be aggressive. And so I feel like dash forward grab would have been good. And if you look at like the frames, I haven't counted, but I'm sure that it'll end up being, you know, probably less than 9. Or more than 9, I mean. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? 9, his grab's not out. His grab just came out, right? And so it's like, oh, your grab would have hit first. Weirdly enough, he did the one thing that would have actually like made this position look awkward by fucking grabbing when he clearly cannot hit you with grab. That's kind of confusing. But it's okay. We can continue on.
I mean, the S smash was bad anyways, so.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. You run off the platform and did not fast fall. And look at the position. You're now in a bad position because he's actionable when you're not. Right? And look at that. You're probably going to get hit. Yep. You get hit because you're slow. And so it's been a recurring thing. And it's like, you definitely need to practice running off platform and fast falling because you actually did fast fall. It was just really late. If you look at when you fast fall, you could probably tell that it was like, you know, it was right like above the ground. If you look, it was right here. And then you see how you start falling faster. Yep. Yep. It was right. It's like you have to be able to do that frame perfectly. Because this situation's actually good if you get to the ground instantly, right?
Yeah, because then I can grab the tech or just play a new option when I get on the ground.
Yeah, I also think you were slow dashing out of your fair. If you look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? You're 11 frames late. And so it's like, that's also something you need to practice. That wasn't the first time where you did a thing and you were like, you acted slow out of it. So like late fair, dash, doing that frame perfectly. Early fair, dash, doing that frame perfectly. No fast fall fair, dash. Hitting someone with fair, dashing frame perfectly. All these different things, you need to like make sure that you can do them frame perfectly, right? They're all super essential to the thing. Nice. Fair. Nice. Yeah, you executed this pretty poorly though, for what it's worth. I think that this up air is fine, but after you do this up air, you should be dashing and jumping almost instantly. But it worked out. And then out of this up air, you should be dashing instantly, definitely. Because you could still hit this fair tipper and have it be a true combo instead of hitting him out of this double jump. Like, this should be a true combo. You should be dashing right now. You should be dashing and then doing the same jump fair. And it'll hit the same tipper way, but it'll be a true combo.
I didn't even notice he double jumped.
Yep.
When you're like, oh, this would have been true if you dashed, I'm like, what do you mean it's true?
Yep.
Damn, dude, you fucking suck. Okay, yeah. Being actionable fast is good.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think those are pretty much all my thoughts for this, where it's just like, you know, you see how we watched one stock and it, you know, was 30 minutes, and I found so many things that you could practice that are all like pretty unique, and also they're not like random things, not like random scrambles. They're all pretty common things: running off platforms, acting frame perfect at a fair, dashing back, and like having a plan, etc., etc. Like all these things are super like, you know, clear. Yeah. As long as I think if you know approach watching the game with this kind of like framework, you will like find more. You'll always have a thing to work on, I guess.
Yeah.
And one thing that Sammy always says that I like is it is like as long as you're working on something that isn't literally useless, I think you're working on something pretty good. Because Melee has a ton of things, and it's really important to know as much as you can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All that makes sense.
Nice. Do you feel like you have a good plan for approaching practicing and improving in the future?
Yeah, this really helped me. I just have to put the metal to it, and then so hopefully next time we do a lesson, I actually do practice. So then it won't be you going, why are you still doing this? I told you not to do that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it also this helped me a lot with that, like realizing stuff I need to do right now, and then it'll help me along later when I get a good basis, and then I'm like, well, I'm doing this wrong still. Like, how do I tackle this and stuff like that?
Yeah. And if you have questions during any of that, if you feel like you found an important thing and you really don't feel like putting in the work to figure it out yourself, I could always come up with an answer faster than you could figure one out, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
Because I already know the
Glossary.
thing.
Yeah.
So
Like, oh, I don't know what to do when I empty hop here. Like when I'm on platform, you're like, oh, that's easy. Just do this.
you do that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
so if you ever, have a time where you really just feel like there's a thing that'll take a long time to figure out and you don't want to figure it out, I could simply tell you and it'll be, you can work it out. Though I do think it is really important to, like, develop the skill of, like, mapping these things out on your own.
Yeah, that's true.
So you should try and do as much as you can on your own, but obviously you can always ask questions. You could ask a ton of questions and I would be okay with it. So
Okay, I'll keep that in mind then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think this was good. I feel like we covered a lot.
Yeah, we definitely did actually.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and get some tournament VODs for you. I don't know if Guild House will, if I just tell them to let me play on stream for VODs.
You could, I mean, yeah, you could ask them at the beginning of the tournament. People are always down to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think it's once I start practicing more and I put it into like practice in net play, then seeing how I do it in tournament will be a lot better for us.
Yeah. Also, if you ever want to, I mean, I'm always down to sit in Discord and watch you play on ranked and talk about things. I love doing that kind of stuff. I mean, that's how I like got Geo good, right? Is we just sat there in Discord talking. I'd like talk to him about things in Melee and I'd watch him play and be like, no, you're doing that wrong. You're doing that wrong. Do this, right? I'm always down to do that kind of stuff too.
Bro, Logan doesn't do that when I asked him to do that. You know what Logan does?
Logan is evil.
We were at Wave Dash. I was like, hey, let me warm up with you. I was like, just like play Fox. And he is like, I'm doing the same ledge option every single time. He's just laughing at me. And I'm like, he just runs off, shines me because I do like a shallow double jump or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, why do you do the same option every time? I'm like, bro, I don't
know any better. I don't know. Yeah, no, Logan is not noob friendly. Logan is very like, he's just a noob destroyer. He sees you're doing one thing wrong and he just like does not care to tell you. He will simply destroy you. And he's like, well, you should figure it out on your own. And it's like, no, tell me what to do.
He's like, I don't know why you don't go out there and you hit Fox when he's firefoxing. I'm like, I don't know what to do when he's at that specific spot, man. Just tell me.
Yeah. Logan is definitely in the camp of figure it out yourself. But I think it's not. I think doing that while playing is not really reasonable.
Yeah.
I think it takes a lot of experience to like be able to see something happening while playing and try and do something about it.
True.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I got lessons, dude, so you can tell me.
Hey, so true. Okay. Well, yeah. All the stuff that I said still stands.
Yeah.
You could always ask. We could do more things. I'm always down to help people with Melee. I love doing that.
Yeah, I'll probably hit you up on that once I get some. Maybe before the next lesson.
Yeah.
I wanna do some self improvement first though.
I think that's a great idea. Okay. Well, have a good rest of your weekend.
All right, cool. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, no problem. I'll talk to you later.
See you, bye.